So, good evening, everyone. My name is Victor, and I'm currently a student in the medicine department. Today, I would like to share with you some of my findings in medical school. When we talk about medical students, we often picture diligent students rushing in and out of the hospital. However, in our 6 years of training, we don't enter the hospital in our 5th year. So today, I would like to share with you what it's like to be a medical student for the first 4 years. The first 2 years are what I like to call the fun time, because during this period, we learn fundamental courses such as organic chemistry or calculus and have a relatively loose schedules. But the next 2 years is what I like to call the knowledge era, because during this time, we are bombarded with massive amounts of medical knowledge. So what exactly do we do and what skills do you acquire during these 4 years? To be honest, at first glance, we only do 2 things. We study and take exams repetitively. On your left-hand side, you can see that this is a glimpse of how many lecture notes we have to cover within a semester, scaled with a tennis ball. And on your right-hand side, this is a calendar marked with the exam dates on it. On average, we have an exam for every 1 to 2 weeks. Other than that, we don't have any particular skills. But some of you might argue, isn't learning the medical knowledge the skills we acquire? Hypothetically, yes. But in reality, no. So this is the learning curve of a typical med student. As you can see, when we approach the exam date, we gradually cover more and more learning materials. But once we finish our exams, our knowledge plummets, and before the end of the week, we don't have much left in our brains. So if medical knowledge is the only learning purpose of our studies, then we may be doing a lousy job and results may be unsatisfying. However, I have a hypothesis for why medical students forget things so quickly. You see, the brain of a medical student comprises of 3 compartments: the short-term memory compartment, the not-so-short-term memory compartment, and the accessible knowledge compartment where the knowledge is usable. Other than that, we have a very important helper I like to call the brain janitor. The brain janitor's purpose is to prevent us from information overload. So whenever we achieve our goals, in this case, finish our exam, his job is to clear all the information in our short-term memory compartments. So what happened is medical students are trained to have abnormally large short-term memory compartments and a very efficient brain janitor. So whenever we receive new information, the medical knowledge actually gets lost in our short-term memory compartments, and with the frequent exams, they don't have enough time to travel to the latter 2 compartments. And before we know it, the brain janitor is doing a splendid job, and we end up as if we hadn't learned anything. I always thought of this system to be flawed because medicine relies so much on medical knowledge. However, we can't memorize all of them. However, one day it occurred to me that maybe we've been trained for this flawed system. We can agree that medicine is one of the fastest evolving fields of science, and it requires a holistic approach. Whether it's cues from patients, the latest research, or laws and regulations, they add up to a massive amount of information. However, some of the information may be very specific or have limited importance. Then what better place to store this information than an abnormally large short-term memory compartment? And let's not forget that every patient is unique. So whenever we approach a new patient, we actually have to reboot ourselves. Otherwise, previous impressions might alter our decision-making and we may not optimize our patient care. And who's in the better position to help us than a very efficient brain janitor? So the first 4 years of medical school might seem monotonous and frustrating with all the studies and exams, but from my opinion, I think we've been learning something more important than medical knowledge itself. We're learning how to perceive, how to process, and most importantly, how to forget the information we're given. Now, that's all the time I have for today, and thank you all for joining me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you